Okay, we're fine to go, Mayor.
Thank you very much, David. Good evening and welcome to the virtual meeting of North Tyneside Council's Cabinet. My name is Norma Redfern and I am the elected Mayor for North Tyneside, and I'll be chairing this Cabinet meeting. I'd like to inform everyone that this meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel to enable the public to observe the proceedings, and I welcome everyone who's watching. Before we move on to the agenda, I would like to make it clear who is participating in the meeting. And in order to check who's at the meeting, I would like to ask everyone present to confirm their attendance. First of all, I will call out the names of each Cabinet member, and after I call your name, please turn on your microphone and camera, introduce yourself, and do state your portfolio area. Thank you. Councillor Bruce Pickard.
Hello, Mayor. Councillor Bruce Pickard. I'm a councillor for Riverside Ward and the Deputy Mayor with responsibility for regeneration, planning policy, business and economic development.
Councillor Gary Bell.
Good evening, everybody. I'm the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care.
Councillor Carol Burris.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Cabinet Member for Community Safety, Community Engagement and the Community and Voluntary Sector.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Cox.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Steve Cox, Cabinet Member for Housing for the Council.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Day.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Councillor Sarah Day, Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Sport.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Early.
Good evening, everybody. Councillor Peter Early, the Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Learning.
Councillor Ray Glindon.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Ray Glindon, the Council for Camperdown Ward. My responsibilities are finance and resources.
Councillor Margaret Hall.
Good evening. I'm Councillor Margaret Hall, Cabinet Member for Public Health and Wellbeing.
Councillor Carl Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Carl Johnson. I am the Cabinet Member for Environment and Transport.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask Councillor Matthew Thirlway to introduce himself. He's the Chair of Children, Education and Skills and Subcommittee. Would you introduce yourself, Councillor Thirlway? You're on mute.
It's a good start. Yes, I'm Matthew Thurler. I'm also the Councillor for Wallsend Ward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask the officers in attendance to introduce themselves. After I call your name, please turn on your microphone and camera. Introduce yourself. Paul Hanson.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Hanson. I'm Chief Executive of North Tyneside Council.
Wendy Burke.
Good evening, Wendy Burke, Director of Public Health.
Bryn Roberts.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Councillors. My name is Bryn Roberts. I'm the Head of Law and Governance and I'm the Council's Monitoring Officer.
Janice Gillespie.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm Janice Gillespie. I'm Head of Resources and Chief Finance Officer for the Authority.
Jackie Lawton.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jackie Lawton, Head of Corporate Strategy and Customer Service.
Mark Longstaff.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Longstaff, Head of Commissioning and Asset Management.
Jackie Old.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Old, Director for Children and Adult Services.
Phil Scott.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Phil Scott. I'm the Head of Environment, Housing and Leisure.
John Sparks.
Good evening, Mayor. John Sparks, Head of Regeneration and Economic Development.
And Dave Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Dave Brown from Law and Governance.
Thank you. Can I now ask the young Mayor and our partners who are in attendance to introduce themselves? And after I call your name, turn on your microphone and camera, then please introduce yourself. Susie McKenzie.
Hi everyone, I'm Susie McKenzie and I'm the young Mayor for North Tyneside.
Robin Fry.
Good
Good evening, Robin Fry from Voda, here to represent the voluntary and community sector.
Toby Bridges.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Toby Bridges. I'm the chair of MBT Group and here representing North Tyneside Business Forum.
Thank you. Roger Layton.
Hello, I'm Roger Layton. I'm the secretary for the Joint Trade Unions.
Dawn McNally.
Good evening, everybody. Dawn McNally, Chief Exec of Age UK North Tyneside, representing older people.
Thank you. Now, have I missed anyone, or is there anyone present who I haven't introduced? Good. Right. I just want to remind you, in terms of etiquette for the meeting, that everyone to mute their microphone and turn off their video unless they're speaking. And for today's meeting, we must first of all deal with some formalities, as you know, beginning with apologies for absence. David, have we any?
The only apology we've received is from Janice Hutton from Northumbria Police, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We now go on to receive any declarations of interest or notification of any dispensations granted. Are there any? No. Item 3 are the minutes. Can we please look at the minutes from the meeting held on the 25th of January 2021 and on the 1st and the 8th of February 2021 extraordinary meetings, which have previously been circulated to be approved as a correct record. Could we approve them, please?
Great.
Thank you. We're now on to item 4, which is the Young Mayor's update. I would now like to ask Susie McKenzie, our young mayor, to give us an update on her activities. Thank you, Susie.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all keeping well. As I mentioned in my last update, we're excited about the new way of working with the committees and how we'll be collaborating with adult decision makers. We have made a good start with invitations being accepted to attend our committees. The Environment Committee members were very pleased to have Councillor Johnson and Phil Scott attend their meeting, and on another occasion members of the Environmental Sustainability team. It was good to find the common ground that we share in figuring out how we can support each other moving forward. This committee's focus will be helping with the Plastic Free Coast campaign, general behavioural change in our communities, and the development of the Eco Schools Green Flag scheme. The Emotional Wellbeing and Mental Health Committee were also pleased to welcome Councillor Hall and Wendy Burke to their recent meeting. It was very encouraging for members to hear firsthand what North Tyneside Council and Bananas Partnership have planned for young people returning to school. We know that these are difficult times for young people's emotions. We have identified that young people need to know where and how to get help. We recommend that this is done through a consistent and regular promotion of services. We want to develop and promote exercise and sporting opportunities for young people in the borough, as we know this can make people feel a lot better. The Increased Opportunities Committee are researching the access and availability to period products in schools. They want to make this better for young people and are creating packs with guidance for each high school, middle school and college on how to improve the availability and remove the embarrassment from what is a natural health need for young women and girls. The BAME Committee have begun working on a film about young asylum seekers and refugees who are living in the borough. We are fortunate to have the Youth Council members who have lived experience and can share their stories. We want the film to educate students about the facts about these experiences and hope this leads to better understanding and tolerance. Group members have also been involved in the BAME Task Force logo, strapline and hashtag. The Enterprise Education Committee are working hard on their Children's Illustrated Book project, which aims to explain to young children in an engaging way about the important issues which are affecting them. We would like to thank members of the North Tyneside Business Forum for all their practical help and support. The Equalities Committee have been looking at sexism in schools and are continuing their research into what schools offer. It's been interesting so far to see the differences in some schools offering gender-based sports, such as football to boys and dance to girls, something we think should be changed to make the same offer to both. We are interested to explore the impact on girls' education, who are brought out of lessons to have a uniform inspection, and we are wondering whether this happens to any male students too. Youth councillors took part in the consultation about the Mouth of the Tyne Festival, which was carried out by Helix Arts. They wanted to know why some people are not attending and are trying to find out what the barriers are to preventing people from participating. We are interested to hear more about this and to see the outcome of the consultation. Youth councillors are taking an active role in the voice consultation around how COVID-19 is affecting young people. This is being facilitated by Children North East. Youth councillors have received a pack of resources which they will use to express how they are feeling and what they want to see happen as we move out of the pandemic. We are really pleased that the impact of the pandemic on all aspects of our lives are being listened to. Finally, Member of UK Youth Parliament Abbey met with Sir Alan Campbell MP, where they discussed climate change, the environment, financial education in the curriculum, and young people and their mental health after COVID. They also talked about the economy, unemployment, job prospects, and the impacts on young people. Abbey finds these discussions very interesting and values the opportunity to speak to a knowledgeable person who represents us in Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susie. I'd just like to say once again, it's just pleasing to read your reports every time you come along, to be quite honest. And it just seems to me that reading through your report, your new way of working is working. True. And it's good to know that our young people's voices are being heard in the meeting with cabinet members and committees who can actually make a difference and listen to your concerns and perhaps, be sort of helped by your advice as well. After all, you're very important to us, Susie, as you know. You're our future, aren't we? Aren't you rather? So thank you so much indeed. Very proud of you and your colleagues. You do us real proud. Fine ambassadors for this borough. Thank you very much. Robin, would you like to come in?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thank you, young Mayor. Great to hear all of the work you're talking about. I'd be really interested in perhaps catching up outside of this meeting about the work with young people about their experience of lockdown. We're doing some work with a local writer as part of the Community Health Champions programme to provide a voice to young people in terms of lockdown, but also their hopes around the vaccination progress. So there might be a bit of joining up there. So yeah, be really keen to have that conversation after this meeting.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone else would like to come in? No. Yes, Carl. Would you like Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Norma. Yeah, just to say it was a great session at the Young Environment Committee. And it's going to be really good going forward, particularly working on our plastic-free stuff around the borough. Our young people are going to be at the forefront of that and helping us to shape that. So it's really fantastic going forward. We've got some exciting plans for the next year ahead. So pass on my thanks to all that committee for inviting me as well, please.
Thank you, Carl. I'd just like to say as well, Susie, that I'm sure the business people would be delighted to have the conversation with you too, to be quite honest. After all, you're going to be the customers of, well, some of your customers now, aren't you? I mean, you're still probably spending your money. Well, you might not have had the chance to spend your pocket money, but when this is over, you might have quite a lot to spend, might you? Yeah. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much once again. Did you want to say anything, Toby? You're on mute, Toby.
You think after all this time I'd be used to doing this, wouldn't you? Yeah, the business forum would be interested in knowing more what you're doing, particularly around the environment and such, and that area. So please, yeah, get in touch with us. That would be good. We would like to follow through on that.
Thank you very much, Toby. They'll be raring to go. Don't you worry. They're very enthusiastic about everything. So thank you very much.
Excellent.
Right. Everybody happy with that report then? Thank you so much. And tell Abby I'm delighted you got around to meeting our MP, right? And having her voice heard. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay with us. I know you're staying, but thank you very much indeed. We're now on to report 5. The agenda papers contain 7 reports requiring decisions at this meeting. We'll take each of the reports in turn of the order they appear on the agenda, and that has been published on the Council's website. For each of the reports, I will ask the relevant Cabinet members to introduce the item. I will then ask members if they have any questions, and will then ask members who wish to make a comment. I will then ask, of course, the members to approve the recommendations contained in the report. The next item on the agenda is a report of children's readiness for school by the subgroup, which Cabinet is asked to receive at this meeting. And I'm now going to invite Councillor Matthew Thirlway, Chair of that committee, the Chair of the Children Education and Skills Scrutiny Subcommittee, to present that report. Over to you, Councillor Thirlway.
Thank you, Chair. I will confess that I don't think my report is going to be as interesting as the previous report from the young mayor, but I'll do my best. I'm pleased to finally present this report tonight. The Children Education and Skills Subcommittee agreed to establish a subgroup in late 2019 that would review early intervention support available to parents and carers in North Tyneside. We sought to identify problems and hopefully find ways to improve services to ensure better outcome for children and their families. It's important to point out that both the subcommittee and the subgroup knew instinctively that we would find evidence of at least some children not being ready for school. Considering the size of North Tyneside, social change, areas of profound deprivation, changes to the welfare system, and almost a decade of austerity, our intention was to identify the size and significance of the problem. As a subgroup, we felt it was important to consult directly with schools, and a questionnaire was circulated to all schools and primary schools in North Tyneside. Whilst the feedback was consistent with the while the feedback was consistent, the subgroup felt the amount of evidence prevented us from drawing conclusions about the scale of the problem in North Tyneside. The group therefore believe it's crucial that the council consults with parents, schools and private nurseries about children being ready for school, with a focus on the size and distribution of the problem in North Tyneside. From January until March 2020, before the national lockdown, the subgroup met with officers in early help services and health visiting and school nursery services to gather information on the role that the council has in relation to children's readiness for school. The subgroup also met with private nursery providers from across North Tyneside. It became clear during these meetings that while we were impressed with the support available to parents and carers, some children were not ready for school. The subgroup therefore has proposed a number of recommendations to Cabinet. I ask Cabinet to approve the recommendations set out in the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Norma, you're on mute.
There's some crackling in the background, so I've turned my mic off. All right, Councillor Early, would you like to come in and reply to some of the things in this report?
Oops. My thanks to the subcommittee for a very well researched and very detailed report. I think you've given us a lot to think about in terms of our early years provision. Could I just ask for clarification on one of the recommendations, if that's possible? Just about the extent of the further consultation you're asking for at recommendation 6.5. Could you just expand on the nature of the focus you would like to see in terms of that further consultation?
Preferably with parents and carers, schools and nurseries, because what we found is that children who did better early on were the ones that went to nursery. So I think those are the three groups that the council should focus on trying to speak to, because when we did our evidence gathering, the response from schools and from nurseries wasn't particularly great. So actually speaking to more schools and speaking to more nursery providers would be a much better way of actually trying to understand the scale of the problem in North Tynes and actually where the problems are. So I think that's the important thing, is actually speaking to more people about this issue, because we only had a quite a select group of people we were able to speak to during the report. So that was quite disappointing, but I think the council can go further and actually find where these problems are and actually the scale of the problem. I hope that clarifies it, Peter.
Yeah, that's great, right. Thank you for your help. I'm sure we can undertake that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Early. Councillor Glindon, would you like to come in?
Yes, Chair. I was in the overview and scrutiny when Matthew gave the report a couple of weeks ago, and I was quite surprised at how people were ignoring, and I'm talking about headmasters or headmistresses, were ignoring the request for information. And I often wonder, and I asked Matthew now, because at the meeting I think there was one headmaster there and he didn't seem very happy about it anyway. How would you actually, you've asked once, is there any way that we can legally ask them to come back with the correct information?
I'm not sure about sort of the legal powers the council have, but I'm assuming that sort of the cabinet as a political force has more persuasion than the subgroup of my committee. So hopefully that persuasive power is able to be used and actually get the evidence we need.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glindon. Councillor Early, did you want to come back on this one?
Yeah, if I can assist, we do have Post Schools Forum, I think we can consult, and at the moment we're running, during the pandemic, we're running almost weekly drop-in sessions and briefing sessions for head teachers, so I'm sure we'll be able to take it up through one of those two forums.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to come in on this particular item? Right. Well, I want to thank you, Councillor Thirlway, to be quite as, because you can imagine those early. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hall, do come in.
My comment is to pick up on number 4, recommendation number 4. It is incredibly important that we have our parents knowledgeable and brought into the whole package of their young child going to school and what is necessary for that child to flourish at school. And of course, I come from the generation that remembers Sure Start, and that did so much good work. And you could almost weep for the need of it. And I think this report indicates the missing of the Sure Start provision in the borough. But well done. It needed all to be said, and I can only think that life is going to be very difficult for the next couple of years until we get over this pandemic and that life gets into a better routine and rhythm for both parents and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Anyone else? Well, I just want to say I do appreciate that report, Councillor Thirlway, and you can imagine this is one year that I'm very passionate about. Those early years are the most important years to young children. They actually define quite a lot of the future and where they're going and what their chances are in life, to be quite honest. And I think Councillor Hall is quite correct. When this government got rid of Sure Start, it was a big deal. Many of our families in areas of deprivation.
That came up a lot during the formulation of the report about Sure Start.
And that's where actually, you had the family not to work with the children, but with mothers, with fathers, and have a much wider area of help and support to be quite honest to these families. And I hope we as a council in the future can look very, very closely at this particular item and see how we can replicate. Finance is very short, as you know, right? But how can we put into place some of those things that are missing to help those young people, because it is about not now, it's about the future for them, to be quite honest. And if you haven't got those basic skills by the time you go through primary school, because you've missed out in those early years, life isn't going to be very happy for you in secondary education, I have to tell you. So those skills you pick up in those very early years, you know, the excitement about learning, that, you know, and how to socialize, how to share, you know, how to address things, how to ask questions and find answers and solve problems. Those are learned in play in those very, very early years, to be quite honest. And one of the things as well that Sure Start used to do was to work with parents and get parents to understand how important was play to their young children and all the skills they could learn through play. So if we can replicate something similar in the next few years to help those children, I think we should look closely at it, to be quite honest. So thank you very much for coming. I do appreciate it. And it gives us the opportunity to highlight something like this and let everybody else know how important it is to our children for the future, now and the future. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask everyone to note the report and agree the responses? And I'm sure we'll come back in 2 minutes and tell you where we're going. Thank you. Yeah.
Great.
We're now on to item 6, which is determination of school admission arrangements for September 2022. And that is that over to Councillor Early.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek Cabinet approval to determine the proposed admission arrangements for the 2022-23 academic year in relation to community schools. This is an annual report submitted by Cabinet. There is a statutory requirement to consult and determine school admission arrangements before publishing. The local authority is required to consult on the admission arrangements for those schools for which it is the admissions authority by 4th January 2021 if there are any changes to the previously agreed arrangements. There were no changes proposed to the admission arrangements, which includes the oversubscription criteria for allocating places in oversubscribed schools. All admission authorities are required to determine their arrangements for the new academic year by 28th of February 2021. Cabinet are therefore requested to approve the recommendations as set out in section 1.2 of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any members any questions for Councillor Early on this report? Any comments? Can we approve the recommendations then?
Agreed.
Pardon?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. We're on to item 7 now, which is the Equality and Diversity report, and I'm going to ask the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bruce Pickard, to present this report. Over to you, Councillor Pickard.
Thank you, Mayor. The authority's Equality and Diversity policy sets out our commitment to achieving the aims of the Equality Act 2010 and how we seek to demonstrate compliance with these aims in the way the authority exercises functions and responsibilities. In line with best practice, it is reviewed every 2 years. A public consultation was undertaken between November 2020 and January 2021. We have taken into consideration the feedback received, and Cabinet asked to approve the amendments shown in the Appendix 1 of this report. At the same time as the policy review was underway, the opportunity was also taken to review the authority's corporate equality objectives and the action plans that underpin them. These objectives enable the authority to identify and publish the priority issues in terms of policy making, service delivery and employment it needs to address in order to better achieve the aims of the Act. The report being considered today shows the progress made against all 5 existing objectives and proposes a refreshed set of actions to ensure further improvement against each objective. The report also recommends that Cabinet agree a 6th new objective, which seeks to further develop the authority's engagement with the borough's diverse communities. I would therefore ask Cabinet to agree the recommendations contained in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pickard. Has any members any questions for Councillor Pickard? Yes. Can't see that.
That's Robin.
Yes,
Robin.
Robin. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just a comment or maybe an offer on that new objective in terms of improving engagement with diverse communities. Just that, of course, the voluntary sector that we have in North Tyneside has some brilliant connections, and I'm sure would be really keen to engage in some of that. So yeah, absolutely, there's some great connections there, and I think if a new engagement officer is to be appointed, there'd be a real support from the sector to help embed that role.
Okay, thanks, Robin. We'll ensure that that gets fed into the relevant officers so that once the officer's appointed, they can have a discussion with you.
And I think you have an officer who will, sorry, I think, Robin, you have an officer that works in that area too, don't you?
Yeah, certainly in terms
of on our BAME committee here.
That's right. But there's all sorts of great organisations that have that reach and the trust of the community that can provide that kind of trusted voice as well. So yeah, it'd be great to work together.
Which is good, yeah. Any more questions for Councillor Pickard? Any comments? Well, I just want to thank you, Councillor Pickard. It's a really important issue, and now that it's been sort of looked at once again, and further recommendations, and I'm sure we'll all agree because it is an important issue. Can we approve the recommendations on this report?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 8 now is procurement of care home provision, and I think that's Councillor Cox. No, it's not. It's Councillor Bell.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, it's me. The authority currently commissions a range of adult social care services from the independent sector, for which contractual arrangements are in place. Current contracts for care home provision have come to an end, and new contract arrangements are to be established and put in place to secure future provision. The authority is seeking to procure and operate a new contract and framework arrangement for care home provision in the borough from 2021 for a term of 4 years to 2025. The procurement arrangements will allow for new providers to the market to be added during the contract's lifetime. All individual placements will continue to be commissioned on a spot purchase basis. This will cover existing placements funded by the authority as well as new placements. This report is to seek cabinet approval to undertake a procurement exercise and to place new contractual arrangements for these services. Cabinet approval is sought as the aggregated value exceeds £500,000. All procurement activity will be compliant with procurement regulations. New contractual arrangements will ensure continuation of existing services and provision. Make sure there are services in place that meet demand requirements and they offer good value for money, looking at cost and quality of provision. Services will meet individual clients' needs for high quality delivery and will deliver good outcomes for individuals. Therefore, I'm recommending the Cabinet agrees to the recommendation set out in paragraph 1.2 of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Has anyone got any questions on this particular report? Yes, Roger.
Can I just ask, just considering the current time and that group of workers being quite vulnerable and in quite a heavy pressured environment, if there's going to be any insistence on the North Tyneside living wage paid to those staff, or is it going to be the national living wage, which is never reached, even with the increase proposed in March? It hasn't even reached £9 an hour for those staff.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roger. It probably will be the national living wage because it's a service which will be going out to independent sector. It's not run by us. If it was run by me, they would be getting the North Tyneside living wage. If it was run by me, they'd be getting £10 an hour. At least these people have approved that these are the frontline workers. When chief executives and such like have sat in the houses doing virtual meetings, these people have got to work every day and look after our residents, so they deserve as much money as possible, as far as I'm concerned. And if I was in a position in 2025, if I was still here, God willing, and it'd be great that one day that maybe we could go back into the market and have workers on local government pay schemes with contractual arrangements so that we get paid enhanced rates at night times and weekends. It is a sector which is totally underpaid. I must agree with you.
is there any chance it can be put into the criteria for the procurement or not?
I'll ask, but I don't think it will be, because I don't think that a lot of the companies, I mean, they were bleating on last year, weren't they? Or this year, no, last year. They were on the telly saying how bad the deal they were getting, so they probably wouldn't stomach that, like. But I'll ask the question, Roger.
Thanks.
Thank you, Roger. Anyone else got any questions or comments? I would just like to say I agree with you all the way, because when you look back on this year, to be quite honest, yeah, who are the people who have kept us going? Right across the borough, right across the country, the low-paid workers, to be quite honest. And it was really, really sad when you know, read a few months ago that, you know, people in the National Health were going to get a rise, and you know, nobody would begrudge that. In fact, you know, they could have anything as far as I was concerned. But then they told us that some of the key workers weren't going to get a rise. And that must have been soul destroying, because now we're still depending on those people to keep us going. So rather sad, having said that. But no accounting for some people making those decisions. And I think it really is important that we look at this particularly carefully. We do want value for money, we do want quality, and we're looking after elderly people in this borough, and they deserve the best. And I think in the future, we'll look at sometimes different ways how we can deliver this service, as you know, because to me, to be quite honest, sometimes it's caused us great concern, yeah.
I mean, the care home package is cost the authority over £32 million, so it's probably, you know, it's a lot of our finances. We don't mind paying it if we're getting good quality service for our residents who are in care homes.
Exactly.
Various types, and I think that we've got to look at this in the future.
Very carefully. Yeah. I agree with you entirely. It is public money, you know, and we're looking after our elderly here in North Tyneside. And let's be honest, they deserve the best anyway. Yeah. And the workers who look after them do as well. Exactly. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. So could we approve the recommendations in this report, please?
Great.
Thank you very much. Item 9, it's now the Children and Young People's Plan, and that's over to Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek Cabinet's approval of the Children and Young People's Plan, which covers the period 2021 to 2025. Following Cabinet's approval of the initial proposals for the plan on the 30th of November, consultation and engagement has been undertaken with key stakeholders, including children and young people, to develop a plan that builds upon our existing strengths, acknowledges areas of greatest need, and responds to what children and young people tell us is important to them. The resulting Children and Young People's Plan is a key strategic document for the authority and partnership to deliver the objectives set out in our North Tyneside plan, particularly in relation to our people. It sets out the strategic framework and partnership priorities to ensure that all children in North Tyneside are able to achieve their full potential, keeping them safe, happy, healthy, with a voice and with opportunities. The positive work of the authority and its partners in delivering services to children and young people and their families has demonstrably improved outcomes in terms of education, health and care. Last year, this was recognised by the authority receiving an outstanding rating for its services to children. Most recently, the authority and partners have worked tirelessly to provide effective support to children and young people during the COVID-19 pandemic. The priorities within the plan build upon these achievements with a focus on tackling the many challenges that remain, including the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our children and young people, and setting out how we will ensure children and young people are living safely, support children to have a healthy early childhood, narrow the gap in education and employment outcomes, ensure the right support for children and young people with additional needs, support children to be active citizens, and develop resilience, confidence and independence in children and young people. Cabinet has therefore recommended to agree the Children and Young People's Plan 2021 to 2025 and agree that it will be presented to full council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Early. And has anybody any questions for Councillor Early? No? Oh, yes.
Susie Mackenzie has, yeah.
Yes, do come in. Yeah. Susie, do come in.
I was just going to say that the youth councillors did look at the children and young people's plan in detail. We had lots of discussion and agreed that it is a good one that covers all aspects of children achieving their aspirations in a safe and healthy environment. So we thought it was a really good plan.
Thank you, Susie. Now, isn't it nice to have the backing of our young people in Councillor Early?
Yes, I think we've made it a priority to engage with our young people on issues like this. After all, the plan is about them. It needs their input to the greatest degree possible.
Which is great.
Yeah, that it reflects a lot of what our young people have asked for.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, you're right. Has anybody got any more comments? Robin, do come in.
Sorry, it's me again. Yeah, it was a little too late to make it into the children and young people's plan, but just to let people know, there's some really interesting conversations going on about mental health support for young people, like non-medical mental health. So there's this model called a recovery college, which is about young people offering peer support and helping young people to develop the skills to be able to manage their mental health and well-being more confidently. So we've had discussions with the young mayor, Bernardo's, and North Tyneside Council, and hopefully there'll be something quite interesting happening later this year to increase the support for young people. So we're really excited about what that might look like. Thank you.
I think that sounds very good to me, because we have some very able and capable young people, to be quite honest, who would offer great support to those who are finding difficulty at this particular time. I'm sure you would as well, wouldn't you, Councillor Early?
Yes. I mean, we're very conscious that nobody yet knows really the outcome on young people's mental health and well-being following the various lockdowns throughout the course of the pandemic. And I know that we're already working with schools, with teachers, training them up and to recognise mental health issues with children. And I know a little bit about the work of the recovery colleges, both in Newcastle and North Tyneside, and I think they provide an excellent service and be really helpful in ensuring that we can provide the best support for any of our young people that have emotional or mental health issues coming out of lockdown.
Thank you. Has anyone any more comments on this report? No. Well, therefore, can we approve the recommendations in this report, please?
Great.
Thank you. Now, item 10, it's children in care and care leaver strategy. And I'm not afraid, but I'm just saying it's you once again, Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mayor. This strategy sets out the vision and key priorities for services and support for our children in care and those who have experienced our care in North Tyneside. Services for children are provided to support them to remain at home and within their communities whenever it is safe to do so. This has worked to show a stable number of children in care in North Tyneside, in contrast to regional and statistical neighbours. When children need to be provided with safe care away from their parents, we have a strong commitment to promoting that care within the children's family wherever possible. This allows children to remain with familiar adults and retains their networks in school, with friends and with social interests. When children need to be provided with care away from their families, we must make sure that this care is of the highest standard. This strategy aims to make clear the ambition of services to make sure that each child is cared for with emotional warmth in a homey environment where they can establish relationships that enable them to recover from any loss or trauma they have experienced. The corporate parenting responsibility is clear that across services, we need to make sure that the needs of our children in care and those who have experienced our care are actively supported. The strategy has been developed with the voices of children and young people, and it's noted that our young people ask us to promote love within our systems. They ask us to be ambitious for them and to believe in their skills and abilities. The overarching priorities are: we will only bring children into care when it cannot be made safe for them to stay at home. We will work with each child's network to try and keep every child within their network. We will support all adults who care for children to do so safely. We want all children to live in safe, homely and comfortable homes. We want all children to be able to build enduring relationships with consistent adults. The authority will work with children in our care to stop them having to tell their story over and over. We want all children to achieve their best in education, and will work with them and their school, college or workplace to support this. We want all children in our care and those who have left our care to help us to get better at caring for children. This strategy seeks to have all corporate parents and partners acknowledge the brilliance of our children, their tenacity, their resourcefulness, their humour and their contribution to our future as North Tyneside residents. Having been parented by us to the very best of our ability, in accepting this strategy as the vision for children in care and care leaders in North Tyneside, Cabinet are accepting the challenge set by our children to make sure that we meet the highest possible standards of care. Cabinet is therefore requested to approve the recommendations as set out in section 1.2 of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Has anyone got any questions for Councillor Early about this particular report? Any comments? Well, I would just to say I welcome this report, Councillor Early, and to me, it's like many of our colleagues, it is really important that we give the very, very best to all children, and these in a special thought for these children who are in care, to be quite honest, because they will look to us as a council to give them that good start. So thank you very much for that report. Can we approve the recommendations in this report, please?
Great.
Thank you. We're on to item 11 now, and it's the Unified ITC System for Housing, an interim system. So I'm going to ask Councillor Cox to lead on this report, please. Thank you, Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet of a strategic review of the different ICT systems that support housing and asset and repairs, with a view to moving to a unified solution by 2023, and to seek Cabinet approval for a modification of the current contract for the existing housing system until March 2023. The strategic review will be completed in the spring of 2021, and a further report will then be brought back to Cabinet outlining the next steps in any procurement proposals. The target delivery date for any new system will be March 2023. While the above review is going on, there is an opportunity to reduce costs of the current Northgate housing system and introduce some quick wins through a modification of the contract. This will include a better online customer offer, allowing tenants to view and interact with their rent accounts via a customer portal, and more timely data for analytical work. Section 1.5.6 of the report outlines these interim improvements, and section 1.2 of the report gives recommendations for Cabinet to note the content of the report with regard to the strategic system review and approve the terms of the modification of the contract for the housing systems. I would therefore ask Cabinet to approve the two recommendations, please. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Has anyone got any questions for Councillor Cox on this particular item? Any comments? We haven't got.
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to welcome the report and thank Councillor Cox for all the hard work he's put into it, because I know it's changing times, and I look forward to the future report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burgess. Right. Any comments? No. Any more comments? No. Please, can we approve the recommendations in this report then?
Great.
Great. We're now on to item 12 with this North Tyneside Council Customer Service Programme, and that's Councillor Carol Burgess. Over to you, Councillor Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my pleasure to present this update to report on the progress we've made with Customer Service Programme. Back in 2019, when this programme was agreed, none of us could have imagined we'd be delivering services to our customers through a global pandemic. No more than ever, exceptional customer services have mattered. The programme was built on a strong engagement with our residents, staff and partners. Listening to what people experience were like, what they like and what they wanted to see in the future is the heart of what our customer promise is. The new promise makes clear what our customers can expect from a listening council. We'll take the time to fully understand people's needs to be open and honest in all of our communications. The achievements set out in section 1.52 of the report describe an impressive list of results and show how the council has listened to its residents, particularly during the pandemic. We brought to life the customer promise. Put our customer first in everything we've done, focused on brilliant basics and never stopped trying to do better. Our response to business customers in the borough during the pandemic has meant we have continued as viable propositions with many innovative and even in flourishing. Over £40 million has been paid to over 3,000 businesses since the start of the pandemic. Work to set up the local support system hub and protect those who were clinically or socially vulnerable was credit to our existing strong relationships with our community and voluntary sector. Thousands of support calls, visits and wellbeing tasks such as shopping and medication deliveries have been to thousands of our most vulnerable customers. The skills exchange has been seen over 1,000 council staff redeployed into temporary roles, ensuring that customers continue to receive the support they needed. The pandemic has likely changed our lives forever, but I'm confident that the second phase of the customer programme and priorities set out in the report will enable the council to build back even better. The second stage of the programme has ambitious plans to improve the information we offer our customers online, but we don't assume that this is right for everyone. We know from listening to our residents and community and voluntary sector colleagues that digital inclusion is a key priority for the programme. Despite the challenges in the past year, we've increased our listening and engagement activity with customers, and feedback about the way we engage is very positive. The pandemic has profoundly changed how many of the authority's services are delivered, and in turn, customer expectation has also shifted. We'll consider these changes carefully, taking time to understand the impact for our customers. I have no hesitation in asking Cabinet to approve the recommendations set out in section 1.3 of this report, and want to thank the officers and partners involved for the difference it has made. We will continue to make a difference for our customers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Burdis. Have we got any questions for Councillor Burdis? Any comments for Councillor Burdis on this report then? Yes, Toby, do come in. You're on mute, Toby.
Second time, embarrassing. So yeah, I'd just like to say on behalf of the business forum, the business community, I think the way the council's handled their part of ensuring the grants get into the hands of the businesses that need it has been excellent. I recognise there's still some issues with specific situations where people maybe are not getting anything, but I think what we have managed to do has been excellent, and I hope as well you've seen the benefit of the support of the business forum in ensuring that businesses understand what is possible and what is available to support them in this really rather difficult time. So yeah, just to say my thanks on behalf of the business forum and the community.
Okay. Thank you. Dawn, would you like to come in?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Just wanted to put a bit of a focus on the digital inclusion work, yes, and to say a really big thank you on behalf of older people for listening to me when I raised concerns around how older people were becoming digitally excluded. And we're Age UK, on behalf of older people, are part of the digital inclusion work, which has been led by Felicity. And we're making great progress on that. I think we should be really proud of the work that we're doing within that group, because it does feel like we're leading the way a bit. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. That really is good news. That really is good news as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure we'll pass on your thoughts to everyone. I'm sure Councillor Burgess will. Anyone else got any more comments about that particular report? Yes, Margaret Hall. Yes, Councillor Hall.
Hello, thank you. Reference is made to change that we're all expecting with this pandemic and as things. There has also been a big change in the borough, in the NHS, and that's been the the establishment and development of primary care networks. And I do think the way that the primary care are looking at how their relationships with the residents and their patients, etc., does have a lot to do and can join quite nicely across with our excellent community services. And I would like to see a development, and I always think it's slow is better, a development between our customer services and our primary care networks, because I think there is a lot of way across there that we can influence people's lives and make them better. Just a comment, that is, I mean, they are very new, some are stronger than others, but there is a real opportunity blossoming in the authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Yes, Peter, Councillor Early, would you like to come in?
Yes, Councillor Burgess mentioned in the course of speaking on that report, the in excess of 1,000 council staff who've been redeployed in the course of the pandemic. I think I would just like to put on record my thanks to Roger and the trade unions who've worked so well with the authority in order to enable us to do that and to provide services in a new way, different services. And I think this is the value of our relationship with the trade unions at a time when some elected members in the authority continue to question the value of that relationship. So I'd just like to thank Roger and the trade unions for the work they've done in enabling that to happen.
Thank you very much. I would just.
Sorry,
yes.
I was just going to thank Felicity and the team, the engagement team, and Jackie Lawton for all the hard work and working alongside the voluntary sector. I think that's been a key in all the things that we've done. And just to pick up on something Margaret said about the primary care, I think that's really important, and I think it is a development that we've been looking at with regard to customer service, because I know some of the customer service staff do end up having to refer people to the primary care. So I think it is joined up, but it's maybe not as visible as we want it to be. But I think it's something that we need to work on. Thank you.
First of all, I think Roger asked first. Did you want to come in, Roger?
Yeah, just thanks very much, Peter, for the comments. And I must say that the leadership of the council currently has been very understanding, and we've had a pleasure in collaborating with them. It's been a pleasure. I know that we've suffered quite a bit in terms of anxieties about workers' positions, but we've been reassured by the senior management team and the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Councillor Bell?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just about the volunteer sector. I know when the shielding was on in the first phase, especially when I used to pop in the council, see Robin, and all the volunteers were taking out the meals to people, and the great community efforts we've had in the borough with the volunteers. When you go to get your vaccination and that sort of thing, it is a tribute to the borough, really. It's a tribute to the links we've had with Voda. I think another volunteer sector, I think Carol's department's done really well. Everyone's worked really hard. And all the staff who have redeployed, I've had people redeploy in our section, adult social care, come into our remit. Again, you know, no big dramas. We just went into the new rules, worked well with the trade unions. And, you know, the Conservatives have got this dogma about cutting trade union time in the budget every year they bring it out. And they just don't understand the value of having a link between the employer and a good trade union. Trade unions aren't about strikes and militants. Trade unions are about representing people, education, making people stronger. So thank you very much, and well done, Carol.
Thank you very much. Has anyone else got anything? Right, okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say to Carol and your officers and who brought this into real being that it's an excellent report, and it identifies the fact that we are a listening council, despite the fact that some people question whether we listen or not. And I'm quite sure that all the work we're doing, and if they looked over the last few years, everything that's been done, much of what we've been about is doing what is important to our residents because they've told us that, to be quite honest. And I just think it's a credit to everyone how we've come through this pandemic. And I'm going to take a few minutes, if you don't mind, Councillor Burtis, right, because it really is important to me, right? I just want to thank all my cabinet members because they've been extremely supportive. I want to thank the officers, to be quite who you work with. I want the officers who've put in place structures and systems and processes to make sure that every resident in this borough is well looked after, to be quite honest, and they've done it remarkably well. To all those staff who actually willingly took from one role, went into another role, and took it on gladly, and there was no arguments about it. To the way we've come together as a borough, we've got council, we've got businesses, we've got the voluntary sector, and we've got the unions, and we're all working together on behalf of our residents. And I'm sure at the end of the day, that's why we've come through it with difficulty, but we've managed to keep many, many people in our borough safe and secure. So thank you to everyone concerned. Much appreciated, to be quite honest. It's amazing what we have achieved. And I'd just like to remind us all that we have to actually agree the recommendations in Councillor Burtis's report. Could we do that?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. And that concludes today's meeting. I want to thank you all for your attendance. And of course, any members of the public who are watching the live stream. The next Cabinet meeting will take place at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 6th of April, 2021. And the details will be posted on the Council's website in due course. And thank you for attending. Stay safe. It's not over yet. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night, all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night.